This report includes mature subject matter and has been edited for clarity. Viewer discretion is advised.
The quiet corridors of a Missouri high school became the backdrop for a troubling case that left parents, students, and an entire community questioning how justice is applied when authority is abused. This story revolves around a 26-year-old special education teacher, a married woman, who crossed professional and moral boundaries in a way that would change lives forever. Her name is Rikki Lyn Laughlin. On the surface, she appeared to be a trusted educator. She worked closely with vulnerable students, built rapport with families, and maintained a public image of professionalism. At home, she was a wife, and to her community she was a role model. But behind that carefully constructed image was a chain of actions that revealed a deliberate and calculated breach of trust. According to court records, Laughlin began communicating with a 16-year-old male student using social media and messaging apps. The contact was not limited to innocent conversations. Prosecutors say that Laughlin sent explicit photos and videos of herself to the student and repeatedly encouraged a sexual relationship. These messages were often sent while her husband was away, suggesting that she was taking calculated steps to avoid being discovered. The student's account was supported by digital evidence recovered during the investigation. Screenshots, saved videos, and message histories painted a clear picture of inappropriate and predatory conduct. Forensic experts confirmed the authenticity of the files, and prosecutors built a strong case based on these materials. Parents in the district were blindsided. Many expressed shock that a teacher entrusted with children, particularly those in special education programs, would use her access and authority in this way. The victim was described as a young man who had initially looked up to Laughlin, unaware that the dynamic between them was shifting into dangerous territory. When police confronted Laughlin, she admitted to some of the communications but minimized her intentions. She characterized the exchanges as mistakes and lapses in judgment, rather than deliberate acts. However, prosecutors saw the situation differently. They charged her with multiple counts, including statutory offenses and endangering the welfare of a child. Initially, the severity of the charges suggested that prison time was almost certain. Yet in a turn that fueled public outrage, Laughlin ultimately reached a plea agreement. She pleaded guilty to a single count of endangering the welfare of a child. In exchange, the other charges were dropped. The sentence was 5 years of probation. No prison. No time behind bars. She was also required to surrender her teaching license and to register under conditions that restrict contact with minors. But the absence of incarceration stunned many who followed the case. In the courtroom, the judge emphasized that Laughlin had no prior criminal record and had cooperated with the investigation. He cited her acceptance of responsibility and her willingness to undergo counseling as reasons for the leniency. The judge also pointed to recommendations from her defense that incarceration was unnecessary for rehabilitation. This outcome has raised difficult questions. How can a teacher who clearly exploited her position walk away without serving time in prison? Does the justice system apply the same standards to women in positions of power as it does to men in similar situations? And what message does this send to victims who may already feel afraid to speak out? From a psychological perspective, this case highlights the imbalance of power that exists between educators and students. Even when a student is nearing adulthood, the teacher's authority creates a dynamic where consent cannot truly be considered equal. This is not a matter of two peers making a mutual choice. It is an adult, in a trusted role, using that position for personal gratification. The emotional toll on victims of such situations often lasts far beyond the legal proceedings. Shame, confusion, and mistrust can linger for years. For some, the betrayal by a trusted authority figure can impact their relationships, their education, and even their ability to trust institutions meant to protect them. In interviews after the sentencing, community members expressed frustration not only at the outcome, but at the broader implications. Some feared that the lenient sentence might discourage other victims from reporting abuse, particularly in cases involving female offenders. Others felt that the decision reflected a societal double standard, where women who exploit minors are perceived as less dangerous and less deserving of punishment. Advocates for stronger protections in schools argue that accountability must be consistent, regardless of the offender's gender or perceived intentions. They point out that the law is designed to protect minors from adults in positions of authority for a reason. Allowing exceptions undermines the very foundation of those protections. For her part, Laughlin has remained mostly silent since the sentencing. Through her attorney, she has expressed remorse and claims to be focusing on her personal life and rehabilitation. However, the absence of a public apology to the victim or his family has only deepened the resentment felt by many in the community. The school district where she taught has since reviewed its hiring and oversight policies. Additional training for staff has been introduced, with an emphasis on recognizing and reporting boundary violations. Parents are being urged to monitor their children's online communications and to speak up if something feels wrong. As this case fades from the headlines, its impact continues to ripple through the lives of those involved. The victim must navigate the difficult process of healing, while the community wrestles with the reality that justice can sometimes feel incomplete. In the end, this is not simply a story about one teacher's misconduct. It is a cautionary tale about the vulnerabilities within our educational system and the urgent need for accountability at every level. If there is a lesson to be learned here, it is that trust, once broken, is difficult to rebuild and that the consequences for those who violate it should reflect the seriousness of the harm caused. This is Vanessa Hartwell, reminding you to stay aware, stay informed, and never underestimate the importance of speaking out. If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure to like, subscribe, and join us here on Women Are Evil Too for more in-depth coverage of cases that matter. Your voice matters, your awareness matters, and together we can keep the spotlight where it belongs.